Hey everybody, welcome to the War Room. I am your host, Jaime Loya, and I am so glad to be with you. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. And if you haven't done so already, let me remind you to like and subscribe, because today it's gonna go down right here in the War Room. You know, we like to keep it real, and today we're gonna be talking about a very hot topic, something that some of you may have experienced before. Believe it or not, there is something that so many refer to as church hurt. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you've read about it, maybe you've even experienced it. And I'm asking myself, is this thing even real? Well, today we're going to unpack it, and we are going to be hearing from some of you, our viewers. And so I want you to put on your seatbelt. I want you to get ready, because it's going to happen right now, right here in the War Room. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Let the revolution begin. Welcome to the War Room with Jaime Loya.
Hey guys, welcome back to the War Room. Thank you for joining me today, where we are going to keep it real. It might get even a little raw. We don't mean to offend, but we do want to help some of you heal, because there is this thing going around, believe it or not, called church hurt. I recently posted on social media whether this is a real thing or not. Well, I got a lot of messages. I got a lot of responses from a lot of people. We're going to be sharing some stories today from viewers just like you. So I want you to stay tuned for the entirety of this episode. I want you to also do me a favor. If you can, make sure that you like, subscribe, and even share, because there might be somebody that you know or that's going to come across this video that is dealing with this ominous thing called church hurt. How does it happen? And more importantly, how do we heal? And so if you look on the internet, I'm going to give you just the working definition for what church hurt is. So church hurt is the emotional and psychological pain experienced as a result of negative experiences within a church or congregation. It stems from situations where individuals feel betrayed, rejected, judged, or mistreated by fellow church members or leaders. This type of hurt can result in feelings of isolation, loss of faith, and disillusionment. It may also lead to individuals questioning their beliefs and relationship with God. And so this is a devastating thing that is happening to some people, and we want to get to the root of it. All right. We want to deal with this subject today, because there are some people who have experienced this thing called church hurt. And if you ever have, then this episode is for you. And even if you haven't, I truly believe that you need to know all about it. If you are a fellow believer, if you frequent a church or parish or go to mass, whatever the case, chances are sooner or later you might encounter some form of church hurt. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it is and what it does. And toward the end, I'm going to show you how we can heal from this devastating thing called church hurt. Now, let me just say for the record, it's something real. Anything that we experience is real to a certain degree, right? Whether it's real or not, it's real for us. And so I've heard people who have left not only the church, but they've left the faith because of these feelings called church hurt. And so church hurt happens when people feel betrayed, when their trust is betrayed, when individuals place their faith or trust in religious leaders or fellow congregants only to have that trust shattered through lies, deception, or betrayal. This is one of the main things that causes church hurt: a feeling of betrayal, a feeling of being deceived, right? In a place where you should have been received. And I think this is the big disappointment, the big disillusion that a lot of people experience, because when we go to church, obviously, most of us, if not all of us, are going for all the right reasons. We're going to find faith. We're going to get closer to God. We're going, right, for good reason. But then when we insert the human element, and then we find out that there's a lot of broken, messed up people in the church, it kind of throws us for a loop. Because as you've heard it many times, it's been said before, hurt people hurt people. And believe it or not, there's a ton of hurt people in the church. It is said that the church is like a hospital for hurting people. And, we're coming to the hospital to get healed, right? To the spiritual hospital to get healed. But you're going to find a number of patients. You're going to find even a number of issues that exist within the four walls of what you and I call the church. And so one of the main things that is driving this thing called church hurt is this feeling of betrayal, of trust. Another thing is feeling judged. Churches are meant to be a safe space for people seeking grace and guidance. And there are some people, some of us, right, for whatever reason, that are dealing with certain things. When we go to a church, we confide in a pastor or a priest, or maybe even just some type of religious, spiritual leader. And then we get judged for what we're going through, for how we think or what we feel. That can cause a form of church hurt, because we feel like we're being rejected, right? We feel like we're being ostracized. We feel like we're being marginalized, like our feelings are not being taken into consideration. And so this feeling of being judged, maybe even perhaps condemned, can lead some of us to experience what we call church hurt. And another thing that causes church hurt in the church, right, in any type of religious institution, mind you, is what I call emotional manipulation. Okay, that's when some religious leaders may use their spiritual authority to influence and control others. And we've seen this over and over. We've seen it at different times in different places. Okay. And let me just say, this is not confined to any denomination. This is not confined to any form of faith, right? Whether you're Christian or Catholic or Muslim or Protestant, it doesn't matter. This form of church hurt, what we would call spiritual abuse and manipulation, can happen at any level. And so this is a very real thing where we need to be careful, those of us that are in authority, that we are using our God-given authority in the most godly, loving way, and not using or abusing our authority in an ungodly way. So let me tell you another reason why people might experience church hurt. This is called exclusion and rejection. And this is sometimes, unfortunately, the experience that some people have when they come through our doors. And I believe, for one, that we can do a way better job of making people feel welcomed and making people feel accepted. You can love somebody and not love their lifestyle. You can love and accept the sinner and not accept their sin. And there's so many people who are coming looking for the grace of God, looking for some kind of acceptance, and instead they are finding exclusion and rejection at every level. And we here at our church do our very best to make sure that when people come through our doors, they are receiving the best possible welcome, because we want them to let their guard down, to open up their hearts and be receptive to the message that's going to be shared with them on any given Sunday. And so we want to do our best to make sure that people are not getting offended and are not being turned off as soon as they go through our doors. Now, like I said, church hurt can happen in a multitude of ways. It can happen through any type of emotional manipulation, through rejection, through judgment, through betrayal, through spiritual abuse. And as a result, this is the sad statistic that as a result, many people lose their faith. When they experience church hurt, this leads individuals to begin to question and maybe even abandon their religious beliefs altogether. And this is a sad, sad statistic, because if you really think about it, God had very little to do, if anything, with the way people are treated. Yes, even in the church. Now, I'm not going to lie and make excuses for anybody, for any reason. If you've been judged, if you've been rejected, if you've been offended, there's no place for that whatsoever in the church. But the point I'm trying to make is this, is I don't see how that's God's fault at the end of the day. And so moving to another church, picking another location, I think all of that is fair and good. But abandoning your faith, losing your relationship with God over what somebody did, in my personal opinion, is not worth it. And so make sure that you don't allow your church hurt to become God hurt. This also leads to spiritual disconnection, where some people, because of their experience, their negative experience, mind you, may even struggle finding a new church home, right? Where this trust, because of this misuse of authority or misunderstanding, is so great and so grave that it causes people to literally spiritually disconnect, not only from God, but want to stop going to church altogether. Now, I'm going to use an example that I might bring up toward the end because of what one of our viewers said. But, if I experience bad service or the worst kind of food at a restaurant, I don't stop going to restaurants. I might stop going to that restaurant, but I don't stop going out to eat, right? Same goes for a department store. I might go to a certain department store, I won't mention them by name, where I wasn't treated very kind or the customer service is just really bad. That doesn't mean I'm going to stay home and be a hermit and never go out again. I'll probably just find another place to shop. And I think we need to use that kind of logic, because the last thing we want to do is lose our faith over some person who is unloving and unkind, and who maybe didn't treat us right and didn't receive us and didn't show us grace and mercy in a time of need. So this can lead, once again, to a loss of faith. It can lead to spiritual disconnection. It can lead even to emotional trauma. Church hurt can leave a deep emotional scar that affects an individual's mental health. And that is huge today. There's a lot of people that are dealing with emotional problems, with mental health issues. Some of that, unfortunately, it stems from their experience in church. And it's sad to say, symptoms may include anxiety, depression, self-esteem, low self-esteem, trust issues, difficulties forming healthy relationships with others. And again, church needs to be known as a place of healing, not as a place where you are potentially going to get hurt. But again, it's so important that you hear what I'm saying. It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. The church is just like any other place, right? It's like any other place. Now, yes, I agree. I'm with you. I feel you. Put your comment in the chat if you feel me. I understand that we are held to a higher standard. I understand that the motive, the intention, the goal, the objective of